Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about the Duels Miami that just premiered on Grant Horvat's YouTube channel this morning after a slight delay from last night. Also, going to give some quick updates on the Wesley Bryan PGA Tour ban situation. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, just a quick spoiler. I am going to talk about the duels. So if you didn't watch it and you don't want it spoiled, now's your chance. Stop this video, go watch it, and come back and watch this video. All right, now let's start by talking just briefly about the Wesley Bryan PGA Tour ban situation because I know a lot of people watched that video last night and I haven't made an update video in a few days. So on April 3rd, Phil Mickelson, who we know Phil being one of the greatest golfers of all time, but we also know Phil as being one of the greatest pot stirrers or trash talkers of all time, put out a tweet responding to another tweet, basically saying, I'll put it up on screen here, that confirming what we kind of already heard that the tour did indeed threaten these creators with sanctions, which have since been rescinded, except for Wesley Bryan. They still banned him for a year, is what Phil said. Which this tweet has since been deleted. And so that's why I don't know if this is confirmed or if we don't know if this Phil just trying to stir the pot. But in my video last week, I talked from the very beginning that this always seemed like it was going to end with Wesley Bryan. Wesley is the only one of these people who have a direct association with the PGA Tour, Liv's rival tour. And so we're still waiting for 100% confirmation on the tour or Wesley, but there has been other reports. Another tweet went out the other day from Monday Q Ryan French, which I'll put up here, basically saying Wesley played in the event Thursday with threats of sanctions from the PGA Tour. Now, why I say that is because Ryan, if you don't know Ryan, does a great job covering a lot of the Monday qualifiers, basically saying the tour sent out all these letters for threatening these players, for banning them from playing in PGA Tour events, for playing in the Live Q School. However, they did not follow through with that. So just because they sent a letter to Wesley to ban him doesn't mean it cannot be rescinded. They've done that in the past, but we do have Phil basically confirming, like I said, confirming, we don't know if it's confirmed or not, that Wesley has been banned by the PGA Tour. So that's where that situation stands, guys. If there's any more updates, I will put out another video, but I just want to give you guys a quick update. Now, let's get into the duels. So let's start from the very, very beginning. It always felt like recording Thursday to have this thing up basically in a day and a half max on, turnaround time of a Saturday at 8 p.m. was always going to be a stretch. And I put this out on my Instagram story and Twitter yesterday, basically saying, first of all, and nothing I'm saying today is going to be a shot or complaining about the video or the creators. This is primarily just giving my feedback on the video and direct feedback towards Live Golf. I felt like this could have been scheduled better from the very beginning. From the day it was posted to the day it was filmed to the turnaround time, like even if you have the top editors, Sky McLean, Carney, all these guys, for these YouTube channels who are involved in this event are involved in editing this video. It was always going to be a stretch to get this thing turned around in a day and a half. The amount of edited, the amount of footage that's, it's a 6 to 8 hour process just to get that footage transferred to your computer. Best case, they started editing this late Friday, late Thursday night into Friday morning. They're probably working all day Friday into Saturday. And so, like I said, from a scheduling perspective, I feel like it just could have been done better from the very beginning. I feel like from the filming, it should have been done earlier in the week to get it posted earlier in the week. And like I said, I put this out on my Instagram story that Liv should have scheduled this to get it filmed like a Monday or Sunday. And I know that would have been a big ask for these guys to get in early that week. And I know they wanted them at the event, involved in the event, which kind of creates complications. But if you're Live Golf, a league that's kind of struggling from a ratings perspective, you're really trying to hone in on new viewers, drawing new viewers. You're going all in on an event like this, getting these creators, which we've confirmed, all these creators were paid a hefty appearance fee to show up. Like you get all these guys, you just ask them, like, what do we need to do to get this filmed earlier? Because they needed all the eyes that's going to get on Grant's YouTube channel, this video, they needed those on the event. Because like I said last week, they're Fox Broadcasting. This is their first event in America. This is a big event for their first year as a Fox deal. And it only had a 2-hour coverage window. A league needing eyes should have posted this Thursday or Wednesday before the event, maximizing all the eyes that Grant Horvat was going to get on his YouTube channel onto the event. It was a win-win for Grant. A million people are going to watch this video, and a million people are going to, like I said, tune into Grant's channel. Are a million people going to tune into Live? Probably not. So like I said, from a scheduling perspective, it should have been filmed earlier in the week. It should have been, not only that, but just to give these guys time to edit and turn it around. But also from a posting date, it should have been posted earlier in the week. And that's just feedback. This is their first attempt at trying to do, like I said, their version of the Creator Classic. Now, for the actual video itself, man, it really was a cool video to see all these creators. I mean, how far YouTube golf has come from the OG good days, the Grant Micah Stumps versus Twigs. Now we have six of the biggest creators playing with six of the biggest professional golfers on Live Golf. Now, I did read the comment section, and I do agree with a lot of people. I felt like from a production standpoint, it had a few major flaws. A couple being, and these are just like I said, my opinions, giving feedback. A couple being the jumping from hole to hole, like you had guys hitting shots on 14 while we're still trying to watch hole 12 from the group behind. That was very very difficult to follow, and I felt like they misused some of the commentary team. They had Bob, Joey, Andrew, and Mason, who all did a great job in the commentary team. But like I felt like there was a lot of panning around. It was very difficult to follow. If they had these guys commentating or talking about it, or had like a specific group with certain people, like it felt like it would have been easier to follow. But the jumping from hole to hole, and then like the first group finished like an hour ahead of the second group because of how slow the second group was playing. Now they're playing a 2v2v2 scramble, guys. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, and I'm not saying the pace of play was an issue because it obviously wasn't. The video was filmed. I know there was a joke, or I think they were talking about in the video about how Bubba had a time commitment. Like I said, it felt like the jumping around, it was just difficult to follow without someone actually kind of guiding you through what the shots were talking about. I know there was some comments basically saying we wanted the edited version of this because it didn't feel like the Creator Classic. It was better than the Creator Classic without the commentary. And yes, I do agree with that. I do prefer the edited version because you get to see a lot of the golf shots. But without someone guiding you there along the way of what group is happening for what, I found it very difficult early on to build suspense and to kind of get to know what was going on. Like I said, I know there was a lot of comments saying it was difficult to follow. I tend to agree with that. I just felt like the bouncing from holes to holes, groups to groups, without really any sense of direction or talking. I know they had the live graphics on there, which I guess was cool. I felt like maybe that helped a little, but if someone's not looking, that graphic's not that small. For me, I watched on a big screen. Like it's very hard to see what's going on. So I felt like that definitely could have been improved. Another thing I felt like could have been improved, which I don't know if a lot of people were talking about in the comments or not, but I felt like they missed an opportunity to have a lot of banter or storytelling or showcasing a lot of these pro golfers' personalities. Like a lot of these pro golfers on Live like to talk smack. Phil is, we've seen Phil on YouTube, likes to talk smack. And I felt like a lot of these guys didn't get to showcase their personality. A guy like Cam Smith is made for YouTube. Cam is the chillest dude. All he likes to do is fish, hang out. He's really, really, really good at golf. One of the best putters, if not the best putter outside of my guy Danny McCarthy on the planet. Just an all-time vibes guy. Him and Fat Perez were an all-time vibes group, and you really didn't get to see a ton of Cam Smith showcase his personality. I felt like that was kind of a miss from the production standpoint. Not just Cam Smith, I'm just using his as an example, but even DJ. I know there was a few times where they panned to the cart cams, but it really felt like a miss from a team perspective because I know how much Liv is invested in the team aspect of golf. This was a team competition. It really felt like we missed a lot of that team chemistry, the team banter, the team talks, conversations around what they're doing, because there was just so many golf shots that they had to show and cram into. And I say cram because it was an hour and 40-minute video that they had to show and cram in. I really just felt like that was a miss from some of the guys. Like I said, Cam Smith is a shining example of someone who really, really, given him a few more minutes on the camera, really would have showcased it and added a video or added a really good element to the video outside of just the golf. Because I know primarily this is a golf video, but it is a YouTube video. They wanted it to feel like a YouTube video. And like I said, I felt like they missed kind of the team aspect, the team conversations, the team decisions, what ball we're taking, why are we taking it? I know maybe some people don't care about that. I just felt like given Liv's team dynamic, and that's kind of their selling point, their differentiator from the PGA Tour, that was kind of a miss from that aspect. Now let's get into kind of the golf. A few things. it almost felt like a less is more type thing. Now we have all these great creators, all these great professionals, but I know there was, at least from my perspective, it looked like there was quite a few shots, not quite a few that I noticed that were missed. Like where it's just like, how did we get here? Like on the first hole, for example, I don't think we saw Fat Perez's and Cam Smith's bunker shot. And I know there was a few other instances of that. And like I said, guys, this is not me complaining about the video. It was an amazing video, and shout out to Sky, all these creators, all these editors who put their time in because they are so talented. But like I said, I'm just giving my feedback on this situation. It felt at certain instances cramped. And I think this kind of goes, in fact, with the line of it was hard to follow because there was a lot of golf shots being shown, bouncing around from hole to hole. But it just felt like in certain instances, it was just like golf shot, golf shot, golf shot, golf shot. And it was like, okay, like, where did Wes's shot go? Or, why are we taking that ball? And it just kind of felt difficult to maybe build that little suspense in those moments. Like I said, it felt like a less is more type thing. I think maybe if they had one less team or two less teams, which I know maybe would take away from some of the aura of the video, but having like one group would have, I think, or like eight, being able to play two foursomes, I felt like would have helped that situation. And there's one of these, right? This is the first instance of it. It was a very cool video. I want to talk a little bit more about the production side. It felt like it was a similar produced to a live event. I would like to know how much creative control the editors had from an editing standpoint. Obviously, we know Grant, this was premiered strictly on Grant's channel, but I would like to know if Sky had full creative, or even Sky or whoever was editing this had full creative control of what they wanted to do, and if Liv had any input on the editing style. Because for me, it did really feel like in certain instances that I was watching a professional golf event, which, hey, can be cool. But I know the thing about this was to have it edited was to make it seem like more of a YouTube style video. So I felt like that was, I'd be curious from a production standpoint who had full say on that or what that looked like. I saw there was a few live graphics. Obviously they had the live team graphics. They had the leaderboard. There was a few reminders from the production that popped up about the actual live event. So I'd be curious to know if Grant sees some of the creative control to get this video on his channel, to give Liv some of the input in the creative control department. Now, the biggest thing, and the one of the things that there was some speculation about that I didn't think we got any confirmation on. Two things really was there was no announcement or anything about this is like the first of many of these things. We've seen the PGA Tour announce multiple creator classics for this year, right? You'd think with Liv kind of getting into the content game and trying to do something like this, that there would have been some sort of announcement. I know there was some speculation basically saying, how is this only on Grant's YouTube channel? Are the Bryan Bros going to get one? Is Bryson going to be involved in one in Dallas? Is Quan going to have one on his channel, right? All these questions were kind of left unanswered. So I thought that was the only real speculation of what the future of the duels looks like. Was this a one-time thing? I assume not. I assume Liv. And one thing Liv is actually really good about is getting feedback. I was actually tweeting at one of their executives yesterday about my thoughts on the broadcast that they put out yesterday. He was responding, basically said, thank you for the feedback. So shout out to Liv for being very good from the feedback department. But I assume they're going to take the feedback from all this and maybe put one together later this year. Maybe we look at Dallas. Hopefully maybe they have one in Michigan. That would be sweet. I would love to play in it if you guys do come to the Cardinal here in Michigan. But like I said, that was kind of left unanswered. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's kind of a raw reaction to everything Live Duels. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Like I said, none of this was meant to be taken a shot at Sky or any of these editors or any of these creators. I think at the end of the day, it ended up going to be a win-win for the creators. Grant's going to get all the views. All these guys are going to get a ton of, money from Live from these appearance fees. And Live, like I said, didn't schedule it appropriately. I felt like they're not going to maximize their potential from putting this together. But like I said, guys, that's the raw reaction. Check out my J&A interview that I dropped earlier today. Subscribe, like the video. Peace.